The glass shattered before anyone could scream. 8-year-old Olivia Carter's small fingers froze on the juice cup she'd been holding, the sound of breaking glass echoing through the Fifth Avenue penthouse like a gunshot. She couldn't see the shards scattered across the marble floor 30 stories above Manhattan, but she could hear the sudden silence, the kind of silence that meant all the grown-ups were staring at something she'd never be able to see. "Don't move, sweetheart," a gentle voice said. Not her father's assistant, not the mean housekeeper Patricia, but someone new. A woman with a warm southern accent that reminded Olivia of the bedtime stories her nanny used to read about farms and sunshine, things she'd only experienced through other people's words. Before you find out what happens next, subscribe and comment where you're watching from, because this story will leave you speechless. "I'm Miss Aaliyah," the woman continued, her footsteps approaching carefully. Olivia could tell she was a black lady from her voice. It had a special kind of warmth that made her feel safe. "I just started working here tonight. Let me help you, baby girl. There's glass everywhere." Aaliyah Brooks, the new maid from Atlanta. Olivia had heard her daddy mention the hire during one of his phone calls earlier, his voice carrying that particular edge it always had when he was keeping secrets. "We need someone we can trust," he'd said. "Someone who won't ask too many questions." But as Miss Aaliyah gently guided her away from the broken glass, her touch was different from the others. No pity, no awkwardness, just steady kindness. "You've got good instincts, staying still like that," Miss Aaliyah said quietly. Most kids would have panicked and stepped forward. Thunder rolled across the New York skyline, and rain hammered against the enormous windows. The storm had started just after midnight, and Miss Aaliyah had arrived in the middle of it. Olivia had heard her come in all wet, her shoes squeaking on the marble floor. The party, some boring grown-up thing her daddy had thrown for his business friends, was finally ending. Olivia could hear the guests making excuses, the elevator chiming as they left. She'd spent the whole evening in her usual corner, listening to conversations she wasn't supposed to hear, trying to understand the puzzle pieces of her father's life. "You should get some rest, Miss Carter," Patricia's sharp voice cut through the room. "Aaliyah, take the child to her room, then report back for your duties." Miss Aaliyah's hand stayed steady on Olivia's shoulder as they walked. Olivia was wearing her favorite red shirt, the one that felt soft and comfortable. "You don't have to call me Miss," Olivia said once they were in the hallway. "I'm only 8, not a grown-up. And I can walk by myself. I've been blind my whole life. I know this place really, really well." "I'm sure you do, sweetheart," Miss Aaliyah replied gently. "But humor me. It's my first night, and I'd feel terrible if you got hurt on my watch." Something about her tone made Olivia pause. There was an intelligence there, a carefulness that suggested Miss Aaliyah saw more than she let on. "Why did you take this job?" Olivia asked. "Everybody who works here is always scared of my daddy." Miss Aaliyah was quiet for a long moment. "Let's just say I needed a change. And your father's offer was generous." They reached Olivia's bedroom, a space that felt more like a museum than a kid's room. Her daddy had hired fancy people to decorate it, but they'd never asked what a blind 8-year-old might actually like. Miss Aaliyah helped her inside, and Olivia expected her to leave right away. Instead, she heard Miss Aaliyah moving around the room. "This room is beautiful," Miss Aaliyah said, "but it doesn't feel like you, baby girl." Olivia's laugh was sad. "That's because it isn't. My daddy hired people to make it look perfect. I didn't get to pick anything. That must be lonely." The simple understanding caught Olivia off guard. Most grown-ups either ignored how lonely she was or felt sorry for her. Miss Aaliyah did neither. "It is," Olivia admitted. "But Daddy says I shouldn't complain. He says I should be grateful." Miss Aaliyah moved to the window. "The view from up here, sweetie, I've never seen anything like it. The whole city is spread out below, with lights everywhere. It's like looking at a million little stars that fell from the sky." "Tell me more," Olivia said eagerly. "Nobody ever describes things to me." They think I don't care because I can't see. So Miss Aaliyah did. She painted the city in words, the way the rain streaked down the glass, the colorful neon signs, the way Central Park looked like a big dark space cutting through all the bright buildings. Her descriptions were vivid and kind, nothing like the boring explanations Olivia usually got. When she finished, Olivia found herself smiling. "Thank you, Miss Aaliyah. That's the first time anyone's made the city sound pretty." After Miss Aaliyah left, Olivia sat by her window, listening to the storm and thinking about the new maid from Atlanta. Something about her felt different, maybe dangerous, maybe hopeful. Olivia couldn't decide which. At 12:47 a.m., she heard it, the soft sound of paper sliding under her door. Olivia's heart raced as she carefully made her way across the room, using her hands to guide her like she always did. Her fingers found the envelope on the floor. The paper was thick and expensive, just like everything else in the penthouse. She couldn't read it, of course, but she knew someone had been in her hallway at this late hour. She needed Miss Aaliyah. Olivia felt along her bedside table for the special phone her daddy had given her, the one with the big buttons she could feel. She pressed the button that would text Miss Aaliyah's room. "Please come. It's important." 20 minutes later, there was a soft knock. Miss Aaliyah slipped inside, her voice low and worried. "What's wrong, baby?" "Read this," Olivia said, handing her the envelope. Miss Aaliyah opened it, and Olivia heard her sharp intake of breath. It's a note. Handwritten. It says, "Find the room before sunrise. The key is in the music box. She deserves the truth. See." Olivia's hands trembled. "See, that's my mommy's initial. Camille. But she died when I was a baby. Daddy told me she was in a car accident. What if he lied?" Miss Aaliyah asked gently. The question hung in the air. Olivia moved to her dresser, her fingers finding the music box she'd kept since she was really little, the only thing her daddy said had belonged to her mommy. She'd never opened it. He'd always said it would make her too sad. Miss Aaliyah helped her open it carefully. A haunting melody filled the room, a song Olivia had never heard before. And beneath the mechanism, hidden in a secret compartment, lay a small metal key and a photograph. "Tell me what the picture shows," Olivia whispered. "It's you," Miss Aaliyah said, her voice thick with emotion. "You're a baby, maybe 6 months old. There's a woman holding you, she has your face, your hair. And there's a man in the background, but it's not your father. This was taken in a hospital. There's lots of medical stuff around." Olivia's world tilted. Everything her daddy had told her was a lie. "The library," Miss Aaliyah said suddenly. "When Patricia showed me around earlier, I noticed some of the bookcases looked funny. Too thick, like there might be secret space behind them. They moved through the dark penthouse like ghosts, being very quiet to avoid the night staff. The library was huge, with walls covered in books from floor to ceiling, books that looked like nobody ever touched them." Miss Aaliyah searched while Olivia ran her sensitive fingers along the walls, feeling for anything unusual. "Here," Olivia whispered, her hand stopping on a panel behind some big law books. "This feels different." Miss Aaliyah found it, a small keyhole hidden in the fancy wood designs. The metal key slid in perfectly. The lock turned with a soft click. The bookshelf swung inward, revealing a narrow hallway that led to a hidden room. The air inside was old and dusty. Miss Aaliyah's flashlight showed filing cabinets, boxes of papers, and walls covered in photographs and medical charts. The first folder Miss Aaliyah opened was labeled, "Project Silence, Subject OC." Inside were medical records that made Miss Aaliyah gasp. Surgery notes. Treatment logs. Before and after reports. And a date, when Olivia was only 6 months old. "They did something to you when you were a baby," Miss Aaliyah said, her voice shaking. "Some kind of experiment. It says here, induced optical nerve suppression. Olivia, sweetie, your blindness wasn't natural. Someone made it happen on purpose. Olivia felt dizzy, and Miss Aaliyah caught her. That can't be real. There's more. Miss Aaliyah kept reading, getting more and more angry. Letters between her daddy and a doctor. Money records. Insurance lies. And underneath everything, a contract. The contract was between her daddy Thomas Carter and someone named Victor Lang, from before Olivia was even born. Her daddy had borrowed $15 million. The payment rules seemed normal until the last part. If he couldn't pay the money back in 5 years, Victor Lang could use the debtor's firstborn child for experimental medical participation. He sold you, Miss Aaliyah whispered, pulling Olivia close. Your father sold you when you were just a baby to pay his debt. But there was more. Letters, lots of them, written in pretty handwriting and signed C. Mommy's letters to Daddy, begging him to stop, threatening to take baby Olivia and run away. The last letter was from 3 weeks after Olivia's surgery. I watched them take her sight, Thomas. I will never forgive you. But I'm not dead. I'm watching. And when she's old enough, I will tell her the truth. See. My mommy's alive, Olivia breathed, tears streaming down her face. That's when the phone rang. An old phone on the wall, its loud ring echoing. Miss Aaliyah grabbed it. You found the room. The voice was a man's, cold and scary sounding. That was a mistake. The child was never supposed to remember. Leave now or it's too late. Who are you? Miss Aaliyah demanded. Tell the girl that her mother's life depends on silence. Camille Laurent is alive. And she stays alive only if Olivia stays blind to the truth. You have 12 hours. After that, Camille dies. And so do you. The line went dead. If you're still watching, subscribe and comment where you're watching from. What happens next will shock you. Miss Aaliyah's hands were shaking. We need to leave. But Olivia shook her head, being brave even though she was scared. No. We take everything. These papers are the only way to prove what they did. They worked fast, putting papers in a bag. That's when they heard footsteps, heavy boots in the library. Marcus's voice called out, not friendly anymore. I know you're in there. Miss Aaliyah found another exit and grabbed Olivia's hand. They ran as Marcus shouted into his phone, they have the files. Lock down the building. The chase was on, and Olivia's life would never be the same. The California sunshine hit them the moment they stepped off the plane at LAX. 8-year-old Olivia Carter squeezed Miss Aaliyah's hand tighter, overwhelmed by the warmth on her skin after a lifetime in climate-controlled spaces. 6 hours on the red-eye flight from JFK had left them both exhausted, but there was no time to rest. It's so warm here, Olivia whispered, wearing her favorite red shirt that was now wrinkled from the flight. New York never feels like this. That's the California sun, baby girl, Miss Aaliyah said, her blue Maid uniform with white apron standing out among the casually dressed travelers. She'd insisted on keeping it, changing clothes would waste precious time they didn't have. We need to keep moving. Your daddy's people will be looking for us. They'd escaped the Carter penthouse through the service elevator, running through rain-soaked New York streets while Marcus coordinated with building security. At JFK, Miss Aaliyah had bought tickets with cash, using fake names. No credit cards. No paper trail. But Victor Lang's reach was long, and they both knew Marcus was probably already on his way to Los Angeles. In the taxi heading toward Beverly Hills, Olivia clutched the leather bag containing the evidence against her chest. Her small fingers traced the folders inside, proof that her daddy had sold her when she was just a baby, that Victor Lang had stolen her sight, that her mommy was alive somewhere. The files mentioned a doctor, Olivia said, her voice small but determined. Dr. Harrison Wells. He did the bad thing to me. If we can find him, maybe he knows where mommy is. Miss Aaliyah had searched for Dr. Wells's address during the flight, using the airport Wi-Fi carefully. He lives in Santa Barbara now, sweetie. About 2 hours north. We'll rent a car and drive there. What if he's mean? Olivia asked. What if he tries to hurt us? Miss Aaliyah's arm wrapped around the little girl protectively. Then I'll protect you. I promise, baby. Nobody's going to hurt you while I'm here. They rented a car with the last of Miss Aaliyah's cash and drove up the Pacific Coast Highway. Olivia sat in the back seat, listening to Miss Aaliyah describe the ocean, the endless blue-green water, the white foam of the waves, the seagulls crying overhead. For a child who'd spent 8 years trapped in a penthouse, every sound and smell was a new world opening up. Can I open the window? Olivia asked. Of course, honey. The salt air rushed in, and Olivia laughed, a pure, joyful sound that made Miss Aaliyah's heart ache. This brave little girl had been robbed of so much, kept prisoner in her own home, experimented on when she was too young to even remember. But she was still capable of wonder, still capable of joy. Dr. Harrison Wells lived in a Spanish-style villa overlooking the Santa Barbara harbor. The house was hidden behind high walls and old trees. Miss Aaliyah parked a block away as the sun began to set, painting the sky in colors Olivia could only imagine. I'm scared, Olivia admitted, her small hand finding Miss Aaliyah's. Me too, baby. But we're brave together, okay? They approached on foot. Through the villa's windows, they could see an old man moving through the living room, bent over, gray-haired, alone. Miss Aaliyah knocked 3 times, her heart pounding. The door opened slowly, revealing Dr. Wells's wrinkled face. His eyes went wide when he saw them, a black woman in a maid's uniform and a small blind girl in a red shirt. You're Thomas Carter's daughter, he whispered, staring at Olivia. I've been waiting 8 years for someone to come asking questions. He let them inside quickly, locking the door behind them. The living room smelled like old books and whiskey. Dr. Wells sank into a chair, looking at Olivia with something like shame in his eyes. You were just 6 months old, he said quietly. The most beautiful baby I'd ever seen. And I took your sight away. I've lived with that guilt every day since. Subscribe now, what he reveals next will break your heart. Why did you do it? Miss Aaliyah demanded, pulling Olivia close. She was a baby. How could you hurt a baby? Dr. Wells poured himself a drink with shaking hands. Money. Gambling debts. Victor Lang owned me. He said if I didn't perform the procedure on Thomas Carter's daughter, he'd kill my own children. So I did what he wanted. I destroyed an innocent child to save my family. What is Project Silence? Miss Aaliyah asked, her voice hard. The files said there were other victims. Victor runs a black market medical network, Dr. Wells explained, his voice heavy with regret. He experiments on people, mostly children from families he has leverage over. Parents who owe him money, who need his help, who can be controlled. He tests procedures that regular hospitals would never approve. Then he sells those procedures to wealthy criminals who want enhancements, modifications, things the law would never allow. Olivia's small voice cut through the room. How many kids did he hurt? Dr. Wells looked at her, tears in his old eyes. 37 that I know of. Most of them died. The ones who survived, some lost their hearing, some can't walk anymore. You were one of the lucky ones, Olivia. The procedure I did was designed to be reversible. Reversible? Miss Aaliyah's breath caught. You mean she could see again? Yes, but it's dangerous. Especially for a child. The chemical I used to block her optic nerves can be neutralized, but the process could cause seizures, brain damage, even death. She'd need the best neurosurgeon in the world, someone willing to risk everything. Who? Miss Aaliyah demanded. Dr. Lena Ortiz. She was part of Project Silence originally, but she quit when she saw what Victor was doing to children. She's been in hiding for years, running a secret clinic in Los Angeles. She's been working with someone, a woman named Camille, trying to develop a safer reversal procedure. Olivia gasped. My mommy? You know where my mommy is? I don't know exactly where Camille is, Dr. Wells said gently. But if you find Dr. Ortiz, you'll find your mother. They're working together, trying to undo the damage Victor and I caused. He scribbled an address on paper. This is where Lena's clinic is hidden. In Echo Park. But you need to be careful. If Victor finds out you're looking for her. The sound of car engines outside cut him off. Multiple vehicles, tires screeching to a stop. Miss Aaliyah ran to the window and her blood went cold. 3 black SUVs, armed men pouring out, heading straight for the villa. They found us, she said, her voice tight with fear. Dr. Wells's face went pale. The back door. Through the kitchen. There's a trail down to the beach. Take the girl and run. Now. Miss Aaliyah grabbed Olivia's hand and they ran. Behind them, the front door exploded inward with a crash that made Olivia scream. Shouts echoed through the house. A gunshot rang out, followed by Dr. Wells's voice crying out in pain, then silence. The trail down the hillside was steep and covered in loose rocks. Miss Aaliyah half carried Olivia, the 8-year-old clutching her neck tightly, trying not to cry. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness behind them. Find them. Marcus's voice called out. Mr. Lang wants them alive. They reached the beach, Olivia's shoes filling with sand. Miss Aaliyah spotted a pier in the distance with lights from a restaurant. If they could reach the crowd, lose themselves among people. They ran along the water's edge, Olivia's small legs pumping as fast as they could. Miss Aaliyah could hear the men getting closer, could hear Marcus barking orders. The pier loomed ahead. They climbed the wooden steps, Olivia breathing hard, Miss Aaliyah's heart racing. Just a few more feet to safety, to witnesses, to. A woman stepped out of the shadows, blocking their path. She was tall, dressed in all black, with cold eyes that held no mercy. She raised a gun, pointing it directly at Olivia's small chest. Stop running, the woman said, her voice professional and emotionless. Mr. Lang wants to speak with you. He's prepared to make a deal. Miss Aaliyah stepped in front of Olivia, shielding the child with her body. We're not going anywhere with you. The woman's expression didn't change. You don't have a choice. Dr. Wells is dead. Your evidence means nothing without him. And the child's mother, Camille Laurent, is already in our custody. We've had her for hours. Olivia's small voice trembled. You're lying about my mommy. The woman pulled out a phone, showing them a video. The shaky footage showed a woman tied to a chair in a dark room, her face bruised, blood on her shirt. When she spoke, her voice was weak but clear. Olivia, baby, if you're seeing this, don't come for me. Run away. Hide. Don't let Victor win. I love you so much. The video cut off. You have 1 hour, the woman said, pocketing the phone. Meet us at the old Malibu Observatory on Mulholland Drive. Bring the child and all the evidence. Come alone, or Camille dies. And Olivia? The woman's cold smile made Olivia shiver. Mr. Lang has a message. He says it's time to finish what he started 8 years ago when you were just a baby. The woman disappeared into the shadows, leaving them alone on the pier with an impossible choice. Olivia turned her blind eyes toward Miss Aaliyah, tears streaming down her cheeks. What do we do? I want my mommy. Miss Aaliyah held the trembling 8-year-old close, her mind racing. Victor Lang had them exactly where he wanted them, trapped with no good options, no safe choices. But she looked down at this brave little girl who'd survived so much already, and she made a decision. We're not giving up, baby, Miss Aaliyah said. Dr. Wells told us about Dr. Ortiz. About the cure. What if we don't go to the observatory at all? What if we get you your sight back first? Then we'd have something Victor doesn't expect. Olivia wiped her tears. Would it hurt? Maybe. Probably. But you're the bravest girl I've ever met. And I'll be right there with you the whole time. Olivia thought about it, then nodded. Okay. Let's go find Dr. Ortiz. Let's get my eyes fixed. Then we save Mommy. They had less than an hour before Victor's deadline. Less than an hour to find a hidden clinic, convince a doctor to perform a dangerous experimental procedure on an 8-year-old child, and somehow survive what came next. But as Miss Aaliyah looked at Olivia's determined little face, she knew they had no other choice. The race against time had begun. The address Dr. Wells had given them led to a neighborhood in Echo Park that felt nothing like the Carter penthouse. Small houses crowded together, colorful murals covered brick walls, and the sounds of children playing drifted from open windows. 8-year-old Olivia Carter held tight to Miss Aaliyah's hand as they walked down the street, her red shirt dusty from their escape. "It smells different here," Olivia said softly. "Like food cooking and flowers." "That's what real neighborhoods smell like, baby girl," Miss Aaliyah replied, her blue maid uniform with white apron drawing curious stares from locals. They had less than 20 minutes before Victor's deadline at the Malibu Observatory expired. 20 minutes to find a hidden clinic, convince a doctor to perform dangerous surgery on a child, and somehow survive. The clinic was tucked between a laundromat and a corner market, its faded sign reading, "Community Health Services." Lights glowed from inside. Through the window, Miss Aaliyah could see a woman in a white coat reviewing files at a desk, middle-aged, with gray-streaked hair and sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Is this it?" Olivia whispered, her small voice trembling with fear and hope. "I think so, honey. Stay close to me." The bell chimed as they entered. The woman at the desk looked up, her hand moving subtly toward a drawer, probably where she kept protection. "We're closed," she said cautiously. "Dr. Lena Ortiz?" Miss Aaliyah said quickly. "Dar. Harrison Wells sent us before he died. This is Olivia Carter. She needs your help." The woman's expression shifted from suspicion to shock. She stood quickly, coming around the desk to kneel in front of Olivia. "Dear God, you look just like your mother. Camille's been waiting 8 years for this moment." She looked up at Miss Aaliyah. "Harrison called me 90 minutes ago. He said you were coming, that Victor's people were hunting you." Then the line went dead. "Victor's men killed him," Miss Aaliyah said bluntly. "They have Camille. They gave us 1 hour to surrender, or they'll kill her. That hour's almost up." Dr. Ortiz's face went pale. "Then they'll be coming here soon." Harrison knew this location. She moved quickly to a locked cabinet, pulling out medical equipment and files. "How much time before they find us?" "Minutes, maybe," Miss Aaliyah said, her eyes on the door. Dr. Ortiz turned to Olivia, kneeling to be at eye level with the 8-year-old. "Sweetheart, I knew you when you were a tiny baby. I was there the night Victor and Dr. Wells did that terrible thing to you. I tried to stop them, but I wasn't strong enough. I've spent 8 years trying to fix what we did. Can you make my eyes work?" Olivia asked, her small voice hopeful. "Maybe. But I need to be honest with you, it's very dangerous. The procedure your mother and I developed hasn't been tested on anyone yet. It could work and give you your sight back. Or it could make you very sick. You might have seizures. You might." She paused, looking at Miss Aaliyah. "It could kill her. Subscribe now, what happens next will determine if they survive." Miss Aaliyah pulled Olivia close, her heart breaking. How could she make this decision? How could she risk this brave little girl's life? But what choice did they have? Victor would kill them all if they surrendered. At least this way, Olivia had a chance. "Baby girl," Miss Aaliyah said gently, "this is your choice. You're young, but you're smart and brave. What do you want to do? Olivia was quiet for a moment, thinking hard. Then she said, I want to see my mommy's face. I want to help save her. Let's do it. Dr. Ortiz led them to a back room with basic medical equipment and a padded examination chair. She prepared a syringe filled with clear liquid, her hands steady despite the danger closing in around them. This will hurt, sweetheart, Dr. Ortiz warned gently. The medicine has to reach the nerves in your eyes through your blood. It's going to feel like your head is really, really hot, like it's burning. But that means it's working. Can you be brave? I'm always brave, Olivia said, climbing into the chair. Miss Aaliyah taught me. The injection took only seconds. Olivia's face stayed calm at first, her small body still. Then suddenly, her expression twisted in agony. She gasped, tiny hands flying to her temples. It hurts. It hurts so much. Dr. Ortiz caught her before she could fall, holding her steady. That's the medicine breaking down the bad chemicals. Try to breathe through it, honey. It will pass. But it didn't pass. Olivia's small body convulsed, her screams echoing through the clinic. Miss Aaliyah grabbed her hand, tears streaming down her face as she whispered reassurances. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. You're doing so good. So brave. Outside, car engines roared, multiple vehicles screeching to a stop. Through the window, Miss Aaliyah saw armed men surrounding the building. They're here, she said, terror gripping her heart. Dr. Ortiz didn't look up from Olivia, whose screams had faded to whimpers. There's a back exit through the storage room. Take her and run. I'll hold them off. We can't leave you. You don't have a choice. Dr. Ortiz pressed a small USB drive into Miss Aaliyah's hand. Everything about Project Silence is on here. Patient lists, financial records, proof of Victor's crimes spanning 3 continents. Get it to FBI agent Rachel Torres downtown. She's the only one you can trust. Tell her Lena sent you. The front door exploded inward, glass and wood flying everywhere. Armed men poured in, weapons raised, moving like trained soldiers. Dr. Ortiz stepped into the hallway, blocking their path to the back room where Olivia lay trembling. You're trespassing, Dr. Ortiz said firmly. Leave now or I'm calling the police. Step aside, doctor, Marcus's voice cut through the chaos. We know the child is here. Make this easy. Miss Aaliyah scooped Olivia into her arms, the 8-year-old small body still shaking from the procedure. They burst through the back door into an alley filled with dumpsters and shadows. Gunshots erupted behind them, 3 sharp cracks. Dr. Ortiz's voice rose in protest, then went silent. Miss Aaliyah ran, carrying Olivia, the little girl clinging to her neck. I can't see anything, Olivia sobbed. Is it supposed to work yet? Soon, baby. Soon, Miss Aaliyah prayed, though she had no idea if that was true. They ran through maze-like alleys, Marcus's shouts echoing behind them. Find them. The boss wants them alive. A hand suddenly grabbed Miss Aaliyah's shoulder. She spun, ready to fight, but froze when she saw the woman's face. She was young, maybe 30, with features that matched Olivia's exactly, the same eyes, the same cheekbones. Even terrified and on the run, Miss Aaliyah recognized her instantly. I'm Camille, the woman said urgently. Olivia's mother. I escaped 20 minutes ago. Dr. Wells sent me a message before he died, told me where to find you. We need to move now. Mommy? Olivia's small voice was filled with wonder and disbelief. Yes, baby, it's me, Camille said, tears streaming down her face as she touched her daughter's cheek. I'm here. But we have to run. They fled through back streets, Camille leading them with the confidence of someone who'd spent years hiding in this city. Behind them, Marcus and his team grew closer. They reached a parking garage 3 blocks away. Camille led them to an old sedan on the 3rd floor. As Miss Aaliyah buckled Olivia into the back seat, the little girl suddenly gasped, her whole body going rigid. "What's wrong?" Miss Aaliyah demanded, fear spiking. "Light," Olivia whispered, wonder breaking through her terror. "I see light." Her eyes opened, really opened, seeing for the first time in 8 years. The world was blurry, colors bleeding into each other, but it was visible. She could see shapes, movement, the outline of Miss Aaliyah's face. Olivia turned her head slowly, and her gaze landed on Camille. Even through the blur, she could make out her mother's features, the face she'd only known through touch, now real and present and beautiful. "You're pretty, Mommy," Olivia breathed, tears streaming down her cheeks. Camille sobbed, pulling her daughter into a fierce embrace. "I've waited so long for you to see me. So long, my baby girl." The moment shattered with the screech of tires. 3 black SUVs blocked the garage exits, and armed men surrounded the sedan, weapons drawn. A sleek black limousine pulled up slowly, its engine purring. The back door opened, and a man stepped out, tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than most people's houses. His face was handsome but cold, his eyes calculating and completely devoid of mercy. Victor Lang smiled as he approached the sedan, each step deliberate and threatening. He stopped a few feet away, looking directly at Olivia through the window with those cold, predatory eyes. "Little Olivia Carter," he said, his voice smooth and cultured. "I see Dr. Ortiz's experimental procedure actually worked. How wonderful. I've waited 8 years for this moment, for you to finally see the world I control." He gestured to his men, and they surrounded the car completely. "Now," Victor continued, his smile never wavering, "shall we discuss the terms of your surrender? I have such wonderful plans for you, child. So many more experiments to conduct. After all, you're proof that my procedures work. Just imagine what else we could accomplish together." Miss Aaliyah held Olivia close, Camille's arms wrapped around them both, as Victor Lang's shadow fell across their only escape. Victor Lang's smile was colder than the concrete beneath their feet. He circled the sedan slowly, his expensive shoes clicking with each deliberate step. Behind him, armed men stood ready, weapons trained on the car from every angle. 8-year-old Olivia Carter pressed against her mother Camille, her newly seeing eyes wide with fear as she tried to make sense of the blurry shapes surrounding them. "Step out of the vehicle," Victor said, his tone conversational, as if he were inviting them to tea rather than deciding their fate. "We can do this civilly, or my men can remove you forcibly. Your choice." Miss Aaliyah, still wearing her blue Maid uniform with white apron, held Olivia's small hand tightly. "Stay behind me, baby girl," she whispered. They emerged slowly from the car. Olivia's red shirt was wrinkled and dirty from their escape, but she stood bravely between Miss Aaliyah and her mother. Even at 8 years old, she understood the danger they faced. Victor's calculating gaze swept over them. 8 years, little Olivia. 8 years I've invested in keeping you blind, keeping you controlled, keeping you as my perfect success story. And in one night, you've undone everything." He knelt down to her eye level, his cold smile never wavering. "But look at you now, you can see. The procedure worked even better than expected. You're proof that Project Silence is viable. Do you understand what that means?" "It means you're a bad man who hurt me when I was a baby," Olivia said, her small voice steady despite her fear. Victor laughed, a sound without warmth. "Perhaps. But I'm also the man who can perfect your sight. Right now, your vision is unstable. Without proper treatment, you could have seizures, brain damage. You might die within days. But I can stabilize the procedure. I can make your sight permanent." "We'd rather die than let you touch her again," Camille said, pulling her daughter closer. Miss Aaliyah stepped forward. "The evidence we have will expose your entire network. Every doctor, Every victim, every crime. You're finished, Victor. Victor's smile widened. Evidence? You mean the USB drive Dr. Ortiz gave you? He gestured, and Marcus stepped forward with a tablet showing security footage from inside the clinic, the moment Dr. Ortiz pressed the drive into Miss Aaliyah's hand. I have eyes everywhere, Victor continued. That drive contains nothing my lawyers can't suppress or explain away. By tomorrow, Project Silence will be described as legitimate research, and you three will be dismissed as troubled individuals with a grudge. What do you want? Miss Aaliyah demanded. Simple. Olivia comes to my facility for observation and treatment. In exchange, you and Camille walk away. Live your lives. Forget this ever happened. The child will be well cared for, I promise. She'll receive the best medical attention money can buy. You'll experiment on her again, Camille said, her voice breaking. Turn her into a laboratory animal. Victor's expression hardened. Those are my terms. Accept them, or you all die tonight. I'll stage it as a tragic incident, escaped mental patient and her delusional sister, killed in a confrontation. The child caught in the crossfire. My network continues. Life goes on. Subscribe now. What happens next will determine if they survive. Miss Aaliyah's mind raced, searching for any advantage. Her eyes scanned the parking garage, looking for escape routes, witnesses, anything. Then she noticed something, a security camera pointed directly at them, its red light blinking. Someone was watching. Someone was recording. FBI agent Rachel Torres, Miss Aaliyah said loudly, her voice carrying across the concrete space. Dr. Ortiz told us to contact her. She's been investigating you for years, Victor. She knows about Project Silence. Victor's expression darkened. Rachel Torres is a persistent nuisance with no jurisdiction over my operations. Maybe not, a new voice called out. But I have enough to bring you in for questioning. A woman emerged from behind one of the SUVs, FBI badge held high. She was in her 40s, sharp-featured, wearing an FBI windbreaker. Federal agents flanked her, weapons drawn but pointed at the ground. Agent Rachel Torres approached, her boots echoing on concrete. Victor Lang, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit medical fraud, human trafficking, and illegal medical experimentation on children. You have the right to remain silent. Victor's men hesitated, unsure whether to engage federal officers. Marcus reached for his weapon, but Victor raised a hand, stopping him. This isn't over, Agent Torres. My attorneys will have me released within the hour. Maybe, Torres replied calmly. But that gives me time to freeze your assets, raid your facilities, and arrest everyone in your network. Clock's ticking. Federal agents moved in, cuffing Victor's wrists. As they led him away, he locked eyes with Olivia. You think you've won, little girl? The people I work for will come for you. And next time, there won't be a last-minute rescue. After Victor was secured in an unmarked vehicle, Agent Torres approached them. Dr. Ortiz contacted me 90 minutes ago. She uploaded everything to our secure servers before his people reached her clinic. We have enough evidence to dismantle his entire operation. Camille collapsed against the sedan, sobbing with relief. Olivia wrapped her small arms around her mother, seeing her clearly for the first time. The tears, the exhaustion, the love that had survived 8 years of forced separation. But Miss Aaliyah's instincts warned her something was wrong. Too easy. Too convenient. Agent Torres's phone buzzed. She answered, listened, and her expression changed to alarm. When? How many casualties? She hung up, turning to them with fear in her eyes. Victor's people just attacked our field office downtown. They're destroying evidence and eliminating witnesses. We need to move you to a secure location immediately. They were loaded into an armored federal vehicle, Torres driving while 2 agents followed in a second car. The safe house was in the San Fernando Valley, a small ranch home that looked ordinary from the outside. Inside, monitors showed security feeds, and armed agents stood guard. "You'll testify tomorrow," Torres explained. "Grand jury. With the evidence we have, Victor Lang will spend the rest of his life in prison." 8-year-old Olivia sat between her mother and Miss Aaliyah, her vision still adjusting. Sometimes things were clear, sometimes blurry. But she could see them both, the two women who'd risked everything to save her. "My daddy," Olivia said quietly. "Where is he?" "Thomas Carter was arrested 3 hours ago," Torres said. "He's cooperating fully, giving us names and locations." "He tried to sell me when I was a baby," Olivia said, her small voice matter of fact. "That's really mean." Hours passed. They tried to rest, but the tension kept them awake. Then, suddenly, the lights went out. Emergency backup kicked in, bathing everything in eerie red light. Gunfire erupted outside, agents shouting, screams, chaos. The front door exploded inward. Marcus led the assault, wearing tactical gear, assault rifle in hand. "Mr. Lang sends his regards," he called out. "Time to tie up loose ends." Federal agents fought back, but Marcus's team was professional and deadly. Miss Aaliyah grabbed Olivia, shielding the 8-year-old with her body as bullets tore through walls. Camille screamed, pulling them toward the panic room Torres had shown them earlier. They sealed themselves in the reinforced room as gunfire continued outside. Camille activated the emergency beacon while Miss Aaliyah held Olivia close, the little girl trembling with fear. Through the small, reinforced window, they watched Agent Torres fall, blood spreading across her FBI windbreaker. "We're going to die," Olivia whispered, tears streaming down her face. "No, baby," Miss Aaliyah said firmly. "We're going to be okay. The beacon will bring help." And it did, sirens wailing, federal agents pouring in from every direction. Marcus's team was overwhelmed, forced to retreat. In the chaos, Marcus escaped through a back exit. When it was safe, they emerged to find Torres being loaded into an ambulance, badly wounded but alive. "The USB drive," Torres gasped. "Did they take it?" Miss Aaliyah checked her pocket. The drive was gone, stolen during the assault. Torres managed a weak smile despite her pain. "Doesn't matter. Dr. Ortiz uploaded copies to encrypted cloud servers. Everything's backed up. Victor can't destroy the evidence." Relief flooded through them. They'd survived. The evidence was safe. Victor's empire was crumbling. But as they were loaded into another armored transport heading to the federal courthouse for protection, Miss Aaliyah saw Marcus standing in shadows across the street, phone pressed to his ear, watching them with cold calculation. And he was smiling. The next morning, 8-year-old Olivia Carter stood in the federal courthouse, surrounded by armed marshals. Her vision had stabilized enough that she could see clearly now, the marble halls, the American flags, the faces of people who'd come to help them. Her father Thomas Carter arrived in handcuffs, wearing prison orange instead of his expensive light blue suit. When he saw Olivia, he tried to approach. "Olivia, please," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I was desperate. I never wanted." "You sold me," Olivia interrupted, her 8-year-old voice carrying surprising strength. "When I was a baby. You let bad men hurt me. That's really, really mean, and I don't forgive you." Thomas's face crumpled, but Olivia turned away. She had no more words for the man who'd called himself her father. As they prepared to enter the grand jury room, something felt wrong. The courthouse was too quiet. Too many janitors. Too many maintenance workers pushing carts. Miss Aaliyah's hand found Olivia's. "Stay close, baby." They walked down the hallway, surrounded by marshals. An elderly janitor pushed a cleaning cart past them, hunched over, wearing a maintenance uniform and baseball cap pulled low. But Olivia's newly restored vision caught something. The way he moved, the tension in his shoulders despite the elderly disguise, the cold calculation in his eyes as he tracked their movement. "Miss Aaliyah," Olivia whispered urgently. "That's not a real janitor." The man's hand moved to his cart, reaching beneath cleaning supplies. When his face turned toward them, Olivia gasped. It was Victor Lang. "That's him," 8-year-old Olivia Carter shouted, her newly seeing eyes fixed on the elderly janitor pushing a cleaning cart down the courthouse hallway. "That's Victor Lang." The marshals surrounding them reacted instantly, hands flying to their weapons. But Victor was faster than any elderly man should be. His hand emerged from beneath the cleaning supplies holding a small pistol, and in one smooth motion, he grabbed Camille, pressing the cold metal to her temple. "Everyone stops moving, or mommy dies," Victor said calmly, his elderly disguise falling away to reveal the cold, calculating businessman beneath. The fake hunched posture straightened, revealing his true height and strength. Camille struggled against his grip, her eyes wide with terror. "Let me go. She's just a child." "Exactly," Victor replied, his voice smooth and emotionless. "Which makes her the perfect test subject. Children heal faster, adapt better to procedures. Little Olivia has already proven my reversal treatment works. Now I need to study her, perfect the process, and sell it to the highest bidders around the world." Miss Aaliyah, still wearing her blue Maid uniform with white apron, stepped forward despite the gun pointed at Camille's head. "You can't escape this building, Victor. It's surrounded by federal agents. You'll never make it out alive." Victor laughed, a sound without warmth or humanity. "Won't I? I've escaped maximum security prisons before. I've evaded justice for decades. What makes today any different?" He began backing toward a service exit, dragging Camille with him, the gun never wavering. "Olivia, come with me now, or I pull the trigger. You have 3 seconds to decide." 1. Olivia's small body trembled in her wrinkled red shirt, but she took a brave step forward. After everything they'd survived, the hidden room, the escape from New York, Dr. Wells's murder, the painful procedure, she couldn't let her mommy die now. Not when she could finally see her face. 2. Miss Aaliyah caught Olivia's arm, her voice urgent. "Don't, baby girl. There has to be another way. We didn't come this far to lose you now." "But mommy," Olivia's voice broke, tears streaming down her face. 3. The gunshot echoed through the marble hallway, impossibly loud in a confined space. Subscribe now, what happens next will shock you. But the shot didn't come from Victor's gun. It came from behind him. From the service exit doorway he'd been backing toward. Victor's eyes went wide with shock and pain as he collapsed forward, the pistol clattering from his hand and sliding across the polished floor. Camille scrambled away from his falling body, and federal marshals swarmed forward, weapons drawn, securing the area. Standing in the service exit doorway, smoking weapon still raised, was Marcus. The family's longtime driver, the man who'd worked for Thomas Carter for 15 years, who'd driven Olivia to school every morning, who'd brought her hot chocolate on cold days, stood there in civilian clothes, not his usual driver's uniform. His face showed no emotion as he stared down at Victor's bleeding body. 23 years, Marcus said quietly, his voice carrying through the shocked silence. 23 years I worked for you, Victor. Following your orders. Covering up your crimes. Helping you destroy innocent lives. Watching you turn children into experiments. He lowered his weapon slowly as marshals approached from both sides. But you crossed a line today. You were willing to murder a mother in front of her 8-year-old daughter. I couldn't let you do it. Victor lay on the floor, blood spreading across the marble, gasping in pain. Paramedics rushed forward, working frantically to stabilize him. He was alive, but barely. Agent Torres, bandaged from the safe house attack but back on duty, arrived with additional federal agents. Secure the prisoner, she ordered, pointing at Victor. And take Marcus into custody. We'll sort out his charges later. Marcus raised his hands, allowing marshals to handcuff him without resistance. As they led him past Olivia, he stopped and looked down at the little girl whose life he'd helped destroy. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "For everything. I was a coward who followed orders instead of doing what was right. But at least today, I did one right thing." "You shot the bad man," Olivia said, her 8-year-old voice matter-of-fact. "That was brave. But it doesn't fix all the other bad stuff you did." "No," Marcus agreed. "It doesn't. But maybe it's a start." They led him away as Victor was loaded onto a stretcher, still alive but critically wounded. Agent Torres approached Olivia, Camille, and Miss Aaliyah, her expression grim. "Victor's network is still active," she said. "His people will regroup. Until we round up everyone involved, you're not safe. We need to move you to a new secure location immediately." Within 30 minutes, they were in an armored vehicle heading to a downtown high-rise safe house. Olivia sat squeezed between her mother and Miss Aaliyah in the back seat, her small body still trembling from the close call. "Is Victor going to die?" she asked quietly. "The doctors are trying to save him," Camille said, stroking her daughter's hair. "But even if he survives, he'll spend the rest of his life in prison, baby. He can't hurt you anymore." "What about Marcus? Will he go to prison too?" Agent Torres, sitting in the front passenger seat, turned to look back at them. "Marcus will face charges for his role in Victor's organization. But his cooperation today, stopping Victor, saving your mother, that will count for something. The prosecutors will take it into consideration." The new safe house was on the 20th floor of a downtown building, with multiple emergency exits and round-the-clock federal protection. Inside, computers monitored security feeds while armed agents stood guard. "The grand jury is still scheduled for tomorrow," Torres explained as they settled in. "Victor's arrest doesn't change that. We need your testimony to bring down his entire network, all the doctors, the financiers, the corrupt officials who protected him." Olivia nodded, looking more serious than any 8-year-old should. "I'll tell them everything. About the hidden room, and the files, and how Daddy sold me when I was a baby. And about Dr. Wells and Dr. Ortiz who died trying to help me." That evening, as Olivia tried to sleep in the safe house bedroom, she kept thinking about Marcus. He'd spent years helping Victor hurt people, helping her daddy keep secrets, watching her grow up blind because of something he'd helped hide. But today, when it mattered most, he'd chosen differently. People could change, Olivia realized. Even bad people could do good things. Just like good people could do bad things, like her daddy selling her to pay his debts. The world was more complicated than she'd thought when she was blind and locked in the Carter penthouse. Subscribe now before the final truth is revealed. Late that night, as Camille slept beside her and Miss Aaliyah dozed in a chair nearby, Olivia heard Agent Torres on the phone in the next room. "Yes, sir," Torres said quietly. "Victor Lang is in critical condition but stable. He'll survive to stand trial." "Yes, Marcus is in custody." "No, sir, we haven't located Alexander Cross yet. He's still operating overseas." "Yes, I understand the risk. If Cross believes the girl can testify against the entire network." Olivia's blood ran cold. Alexander Cross. She'd heard Marcus mention that name during his interrogation days ago, the man behind Victor Lang, the true architect of Project Silence. If Victor was the monster who'd hurt her, what did that make Alexander Cross? And if he was still out there, still operating, still running his network of illegal medical experiments, did that mean this nightmare wasn't really over? Olivia squeezed her eyes shut, but sleep wouldn't come. Tomorrow she would testify. Tomorrow she would tell the truth about what had been done to her. Tomorrow she would help bring justice. But deep in her heart, the 8-year-old girl who'd learned to see again knew something the adults didn't want to admit. Victor Lang's capture was just the beginning. The real battle was still ahead. Morning sunlight streamed through the safe house windows as 8-year-old Olivia Carter prepared for the most important day of her young life. She put on a clean red shirt, a new one, since her favorite had been ruined during their escape, and let her mother Camille brush her dark hair. For the first time in 8 years, Olivia could see her own reflection in the mirror. "You look beautiful, baby," Camille said, tears in her eyes. "I look like you, Mommy," Olivia replied, studying their matching features in the glass. Miss Aaliyah, who'd changed from her blue Maid uniform into regular clothes for the courthouse, knelt beside Olivia. "Are you ready to tell your story, baby girl? It's okay to be scared." "I'm always scared," Olivia said with the simple honesty of childhood. "But Miss Aaliyah taught me that being brave means doing the right thing even when you're scared. So I'm going to be brave today." The federal courthouse was surrounded by news trucks and protesters, some supporting the victims of Project Silence, others claiming Victor Lang was being persecuted. Agent Torres led them through a back entrance, avoiding the media circus. Inside, the grand jury room was smaller than Olivia had imagined. 12 ordinary people sat in chairs, waiting to hear her testimony. The lead prosecutor, a kind woman named Sarah Mitchell, guided Olivia to the witness stand. "Take your time, sweetie," Sarah said gently. "Just tell us what happened in your own words." So Olivia did. She told them about living her whole life blind in the Carter penthouse, never understanding why. She described the night Miss Aaliyah arrived and found the mysterious note. She explained discovering the hidden room with all the medical files proving her blindness was caused on purpose when she was just a baby. "My daddy sold me to pay a debt," Olivia said, her small voice steady. "Victor Lang did an experiment on me. He took away my eyes, not my actual eyes, but my ability to see. And then everybody lied about it my whole life." Subscribe now, the final verdict will determine everything. The jury listened with tears streaming down their faces as this brave 8-year-old described her journey, escaping New York, finding Dr. Wells in Santa Barbara, undergoing the dangerous reversal procedure, reuniting with her mother, and facing Victor Lang at gunpoint. "He wanted to experiment on me again," Olivia testified. "He said I was proof his procedures worked. But Marcus shot him before he could take me away." Camille testified next, describing 8 years of hiding, working with Dr. Lena Ortiz to develop the reversal treatment, and waiting for the moment she could finally tell her daughter the truth. "Victor threatened to kill Olivia if I ever tried to contact her," Camille said, her voice breaking. "So I stayed away. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But I never stopped fighting to find a way to save her." Miss Aaliyah's testimony focused on the evidence, the files, the contract, the medical records proving Victor's entire network. "Dr. Ortiz gave her life to protect that evidence," Aaliyah said. "And Dr. Wells died trying to help us. Their sacrifice can't be for nothing." The grand jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. When they emerged, they handed down indictments against Victor Lang on 47 counts: conspiracy, medical experimentation on minors without consent, human trafficking, 27 counts of murder, and numerous financial crimes. Additional indictments targeted 17 doctors, 8 lawyers, 12 businessmen, and 5 government officials who protected Victor's network over the decades. Thomas Carter received a separate indictment for conspiracy and child endangerment. Because of his cooperation, prosecutors offered a plea deal, 15 years in federal prison. Victor Lang, still recovering from surgery under armed guard, would face trial within 6 months. If convicted on all counts, he'd spend the rest of his life in prison without possibility of parole. 2 weeks later, 8-year-old Olivia stood in a visiting room at the Federal Detention Center, facing her father through bulletproof glass. Thomas Carter looked nothing like the powerful billionaire who'd controlled her life, his expensive light blue suit replaced by prison orange, his confident demeanor shattered. "Olivia," he said through the phone, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I made terrible choices. I was desperate, and You sold me," Olivia interrupted. "When I was a baby. You let bad men hurt me so you could keep your money and your big house. That's really mean, Daddy. That's the meanest thing anyone ever did to me. I know. I know. But I always loved you. No, you didn't, Olivia said, her 8-year-old wisdom cutting through his excuses. If you loved me, you would have protected me. That's what love is. Miss Aaliyah protected me. Mommy protected me. Dr. Ortiz protected me and she didn't even know me. But you hurt me on purpose. Thomas sobbed, but Olivia felt nothing, no anger, no sadness, just emptiness. Goodbye, Daddy. I don't think I'll visit you again. She hung up the phone and walked away, leaving Thomas Carter crying behind the glass. Miss Aaliyah and Camille were waiting outside, and together they left the detention center. Are you okay, baby? Camille asked. I'm sad, Olivia admitted. But I'm also free. Is that weird? No, sweetheart, Miss Aaliyah said. That's called healing. Over the following months, life settled into a new rhythm. Camille found an apartment in Brooklyn, far from the Carter penthouse that had been Olivia's prison. It was small but cozy, filled with things Olivia actually liked instead of expensive decorations chosen by strangers. Miss Aaliyah officially became part of their family. Not as a maid, but as Aunt Aaliyah. She helped Olivia adjust to her new vision, teaching her to read with her eyes instead of her fingers, showing her colors and shapes and all the beautiful things she'd missed. Olivia attended a regular school for the first time, making friends who didn't know about her blindness or her billionaire father. She was just Olivia, an 8-year-old girl who liked drawing and playing tag and eating ice cream. But she never forgot the other children who'd suffered because of Victor Lang and Project Silence. Agent Torres kept them updated on the investigation. 17 children rescued from the desert facility, 37 victims identified who died over the years, hundreds of families affected. 6 months after Victor's arrest, Camille, Aaliyah, and Olivia started the Olivia Carter Foundation for Medical Justice. Their mission: helping child victims of illegal medical experimentation and advocating for stronger protections in medical research. Olivia became the face of the foundation, a brave little girl who'd survived something terrible and wanted to help others survive too. She testified before Congress, her words leading to new laws protecting children in medical research. Subscribe now before the shocking final twist. Victor Lang's trial lasted 3 months. Olivia testified again, this time in a real courtroom with the whole world watching. She wore her red shirt and spoke clearly, telling the jury exactly what Victor had done to her and to so many other children. The jury convicted him on all 47 counts. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without parole. Victor showed no emotion as they led him away in chains. Marcus received a 10-year sentence for his role in Victor's organization, but his cooperation and the shooting that saved Camille earned him consideration for early parole. Before he went to prison, he wrote Olivia a letter apologizing for his part in her suffering. Olivia wrote back, "You did bad things for a long time. But at the end, you did one really brave thing. I forgive you, but I won't forget. I hope you use your time in prison to become a better person." 1 year after that terrifying night in the Carter penthouse library, 8-year-old Olivia stood with her mother and Aunt Aaliyah watching the sunset from their Brooklyn apartment balcony. Her vision had fully stabilized, not perfect, but good enough to see everything that mattered. "I'm happy, Mommy," Olivia said simply. "Is that okay? Am I allowed to be happy after all the bad stuff?" "Yes, baby," Camille said, hugging her daughter close. "You're absolutely allowed to be happy. You deserve to be happy." That evening, a package arrived. No return address. No postage marks. Inside was a single photograph, a distinguished man in his 60s standing in front of a medical facility in Singapore. On the back, written in elegant script, Victor was the student. I am the master. Your foundation threatens my work. Stop now, or you will suffer far worse than what happened 8 years ago. This is your only warning. Alexander Cross. Camille stared at the photograph, her face pale. He's still out there. Still operating. Still hurting children. Miss Aaliyah looked at Olivia, expecting fear. But what she saw was determination. Then we stop him too, Olivia said simply, her newly seeing eyes clear and focused. Just like we stopped Victor. Because that's what good people do, we fix the bad things, even when it's scary. Baby, you're only 8 years old, Camille protested gently. You've been through so much. You deserve to be a normal kid now. But I'm not normal, Mommy, Olivia said, not with sadness but with acceptance. And that's okay. Being not normal means I can help other kids who aren't normal either. Kids like me who got hurt and need someone to be brave for them. Agent Torres reviewed the photograph when they showed it to her the next morning. Alexander Cross operates internationally. He's careful, connected, protected by powerful people. Going after him will take years of investigation. Then it takes years, Olivia said with the simple logic of childhood. But we don't give up. Because giving up means he wins. And I don't let bad guys win anymore. Outside their Brooklyn apartment, the city hummed with life, 8 million stories happening all at once. Somewhere in that vast world, Alexander Cross was running his network, destroying lives, turning children into experiments. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd threatened an 8-year-old girl who'd already survived the impossible. A girl who'd learned that even when the world is dark, even when adults fail you, even when everything seems hopeless, you can still choose to be brave. Olivia Carter stood between her mother and Aunt Aaliyah, looking out at the world she could finally see. The battle wasn't over. Alexander Cross was still out there. But for the first time in her life, Olivia wasn't afraid of the darkness. Because she'd learned the truth that Victor Lang and Alexander Cross would never understand. The light always wins. Sometimes it just takes a brave little girl in a red shirt to show everyone where to look.